questions coming into the season was, can Jaquan Brisker stay healthy and earn a new contract with the Chicago Bears? Well, despite the Bears dealing with injuries all throughout the secondary so far, Jaquan Brisker left practice early with head trainer on Wednesday's practice, raising concerns about his health and availability. Plus, Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson talks about the relationship and how tough Ben Johnson is on Caleb Williams and the perception there, and why the Colston Loveland hype is about to reach an all-time high. We're going to get into all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go and get into this content for today, y'all. And unfortunately, we got to start off with, I'm not going to necessarily call it negative news. We got to wait and see what's going to come out of it. But Jaquan Brisker did go down with apparent injury in practice yesterday. And this was the last thing that you want to hear. He was checked out by head trainer Andrew Tucker when it came down to it. And then he took a cart back into the building. And as of right now, it's unclear what happened. Now, this is speculation. This is not what's reported. I'm going to get into the speculative part. What's reported is he went down in practice. It's unclear exactly what happened. He went back on the cart. That's what happens. That's what we know for a fact. But if it's not apparent what exactly happened, to me, in my mind, that sounds like a no contact injury. Now, I'm not saying that at all. That's not necessarily what's reported, but it seems like it was a non-contact injury based off me and what I'm taking away from it. Now, if it is a non-contact injury, it does raise some serious concerns about how long and how much time he's going to miss, but it is not a concussion, right? And you can take that for what you would. It's crazy almost that I'm looking at it and saying, well, a non-contact injury may be better than it being a concussion because of the history of concussions that he has there. But that's kind of where my mind is going at it, to be 100% honest with you. And so, we'll see what happens. As of right now, it is unclear, it has not been released, nothing like that. But with the injury concerns that we've had for Jaquan Brisker and the fact that him staying healthy was one of the things we definitely needed to see in regards to him potentially sticking around here with the Chicago Bears. When Jaquan Brisker's healthy, it's no doubt. He was on pace to have his third straight year of over 100 tackles before he went down with injury that made him miss the remainder of the season last year. And this is an unfortunate part to hear anything about an injury in regards to Jaquan Brisker, just because we know how much different of a defense we are when Jaquan Brisker's out there. We know how different this team is. We know the impact that he brings to this team when he's able to be out there on the football field. And so now hearing Jaquan Brisker it went down with injury and got carted off into the back, it does raise some serious red flags and concern for me for what his health's going to look like, especially in week one, and maybe even missing a nice chunk of the season. But that's just my concern. That's worry. It could be PTSD. For all we know, we can hear that, he'll be back in a week or two, right? It could be nothing. Maybe it was a seriously pulled hammy. It could be something like that. But once the news drops and once we have it in, the Bears are going to be very particular in how they release out this information. But once we know what's going on with Jaquan Brisker, you guys know we'll have an episode on it once we know what's going down. This is an unfortunate part. And just what happens in football sometimes in sports is that you have injuries. But, and maybe that's wrong of me to take it as, well, at least it's not another concussion. But I'm not going to lie to you. That's still how I'm taking this, that at least it's not another concussion, because Jaquan Brisker having another concussion that sits him out for a large part of the season, that would be all doom and gloom. I do think that if this is a non-contact injury that forces him to miss some time, there could still be a future with him here with the Chicago Bears, because it could be even cheaper at that point in time. But the Bears do have to start looking at this as getting some insurance for Jaquan Brisker. I mean, I think that ultimately that's what this comes down to. Having Kevin Byard here has been good. And I do think the Bears, I hope that they do re-up Kevin Byard. but they got to find another starting caliber safety, whether that is to replace Kevin Byard as he's on the decline of his career, whether that's a guy that could take over for Jaquan Brisker at some point. You got to start finding that, because it just does not seem like that's going to stop anytime soon. So there you go on that one. But injury update to Jaquan Brisker. And then we got another injury update. It looks like Reuben Hippolite as well. He left practice early, also according to Courtney Cronin. And that's another player that, for that linebacking core that we're missing out. And I know we just picked up another linebacker that Dennis Allen was familiar with, but hey, listen, you got TJ Edwards down. Dominique Robinson, he left practice early yesterday. Now Reuben Hippolite, Jaquan Brisker. This is getting to a point where the Bears, the injuries are doing exactly what we did not want to happen. You don't want injuries to stack up before you even take the field week one, right? Jalen Johnson, we still don't know exactly when he's going to return. DeAndre's the only healthy running back. Roshan Johnson, Kyle Monangai, they're out. You add Reuben Hippolite to that now. Dominique Robinson, TJ Edwards, Jaquan Brisker. These are injuries that are stacking up for the Chicago Bears. And, unfortunately, Austin Booker too. Like, we still don't know when Austin Booker is going to be back. So these are just all stacking up. And now the Bears do have over a week left before they take the field against the Minnesota Vikings in week one. But these injuries stacking up just don't look good right now, man. And it's bad. You got Travis Homer on the short-term injury reserve. He's out for 4 weeks. So like what the Bears are going through right now with injuries, hopefully that this means that maybe we're not dealing with it in the middle of the season, but we've seen things happen before, whereas when teams just keep suffering injuries after injuries after injuries, sometimes you never really get your footing back under that, or you never really build the chemistry because guys are going down. Guys aren't like, you just keep in mind, we still got a new coaching staff in here with new systems, new schemes, things like that. And this is just not how you want the season to start off with at this point. But this is where we are as a team. And next man up mentality is a thing. This coaching staff is going to have the players that are stepping into place for these players. They're going to have to have them ready to go. I've already speculated that Britton Brown, who is on the practice squad, he did stay around, and that he's probably going to be activated off that practice squad sooner rather than later. I fully believe that that's going to happen at some point here, because, either that or the Bears are going to have to make another acquisition at running back. That's where this roster is. And when the Bears make decisions, carry like 3 quarterbacks and things like that, you could see, not to say that I don't want Case Keenum in the QB room, but you may have to make a decision there just to get a guy on the roster that you need for a position, because you're going to need that guy to be able to perform and get on the football field because of the injuries that you have other places. This is, again, as it stands right now, we don't know exactly what the diagnosis is for some of these guys. And therefore, this could be a complete overreaction. By the time this video is up, we can hear it, and it could be I would love for nothing much than the comment section to get filled with, hey, is you tripping? Jaquan just got cleared. He's good. He's going to be out in practice in a couple of days. I would love for that to be the case. Because, listen, shut me up with injuries. I would love to be wrong on stuff. I want to be clear on that one. But it's just, it's tough as it stands right now. And the Bears are putting themselves behind the 8 ball. And again, it's not by choice. There may not be the right words there, but they're behind the 8 ball right now, injuries. And that's not where you want to be at this point of the season before you even taking the field officially in week one. So we'll see what that holds for the Chicago Bears. But for what it's worth, let's get off the doom and gloom. Let's get off the injuries. We're spending enough time on that. Let's talk about Caleb Williams. We got comments from Caleb and from Ben Johnson. First, we got comments from Caleb on exactly where the offense is. And then Ben Johnson reacting a little bit to people saying that he may be too hard on Caleb Williams. But for what it's worth, Caleb Williams did talk about the offense. He said this: we all see what we can be. We all see the flashes. There's often some pretty good moments in practice and in games we've had so far. One of those moments today was the 2-minute drive we had before half. Before the drive, being able to talk to the guys, saying to the guys that we're never down. If we're never down in the game, if we never start slow, being able to understand that and have self-control and discipline in those moments to be able to go out there and score in 2-minute situations, get the ball back in the second half and go out there and score again to have a 14-point swing. There are obviously moments we don't want. We want to come out and start fast, win the game early. If those don't happen, it always seems to come down towards the end of the game. Being able to understand that, being able to have discipline and self-control, that always comes down to the end of the game. That happened today, and the guys did a great job. Late game situations is great, but the thing that I love here is discipline and self-control. You know what I take that? I take that as an offense that has a level of understanding and trust in each other, the play calling, the scheme, and what they can do. And that's what you need to have if your offense is going to operate at all cylinders. Yes, the Bears offense has had flashes of looking really good. They have had some flashes of the same concerns that we saw over the last couple of seasons, both with Caleb and with other things in execution and some things like that. But you need your play caller. You need your quarterback. You need these things to be in line. And Caleb has to realize, too, that he has to be part of that calming factor for that offense. When your offense is down and you have to go on a 2-minute drive and drill, the trust that those guys have in that huddle is what helps the execution part of it. And when we see pre-snap penalties and things like that for the Chicago Bears, that's what stands out. So Caleb, as a leader, has to stand up and stand out in those moments and be what the offensive players that are out there with him, what they rely on. Our quarterback is poised. Thus, we can be poised, right? Thus, we can relax a little bit. Let's go out here and play football because our quarterback is going to lead us. And that is the difference between a good quarterback and a great quarterback. Those are the difference between those. How you step up in those moments, how you rally your guys together when it's needed the most in some situations where you may be down. You may need to go on a long drive down the field. You may be needing to play from behind. When you get out to an early start and a fast start, not to say that that's easy. It's not easy to do that either, but it's easier as the game goes down the stretch to have confidence because you got out to a fast start, especially if you're holding on to leads. This is going to be a season where the Bears offense and the defense has to be in tandem. It has to be in synergy. They have to work together to make their jobs easier on one another, meaning that the Bears can help, the Bears defense can help the Bears offense get shorter fields, get 3-and-outs for the team, not let the team move quickly far down the field. Same thing with the offense. Even if a drive is not going to end in a score, can you get far enough down? Can you take enough time to where your defense can get some rest? These are all things that matter. And that, of course, you kind of talk about a little bit during the season, but you don't necessarily get so far in the nitty-gritty. You don't really get into those things and the minutia of those things. That's going to be important for this team in this season. And Caleb has to understand as a quarterback in the NFL how important it is for you to be poised in those moments and lead your guys. It's not all on Caleb. The offensive line has to do his job. The wide receivers have to do their jobs. The tight ends, the running back, everybody has to do their job. But as far as the intangible portion of that, you will find that the quarterbacks that have the most poise in those moments and execute the best in those moments, those are the ones where they're the players around, the skill players, they just feel a little bit more confident in it. So that's a growth point for Caleb this year. We've seen some really good fourth quarter drives from Caleb last year that sometimes didn't end in scores and well, a lot of times didn't end in scores and things like that. So now can you take it a step further? The play calling is going to be better. Your talent pool around you is going to be better. What's the step that Caleb takes in those moments? And that's what I'm looking for. It's growing pains for a reason. And you have to be put in a situation that is not advantageous to you to really grow at times. Everything can't be front running. I would love for it to be, but it's not realistic. And so seeing how the team grows in those moments over the course of this season is one of the things I'm most interested into, and one of the things I'm going to be watching out for, because if this team can grow in those situations, then we may be on to something here, and we'll see if we can do that. But with that said, we also got comments from Ben Johnson in regards to people who said that he may be too hard on Caleb Williams. And I love how Ben Johnson is just such a smart guy. Like when it comes to how he manages this thing, is just smart. And you know, one of the things that we're going to see is what he's cut out to do, what he's not cut out to do. But let's go ahead and get cut to this clip from Ben Johnson here.
When you start talking about the standard, when you start talking about where you're at with Caleb, you've set a lot of lofty goals for him and a lot of ideas of how he needs to play. Have they been adjusted at all as you get to the start of the season? Have you changed any of those goals? What does success look like for Caleb Williams?
Yeah, no, the standard has been set. The bar has been set high. He has said that he wants to be not just one of the best top 5 quarterbacks in this league, but he wants to have a legacy that lasts for a long time. And so we're coaching him that way. We're approaching it that way. That's not going to change. Is he going to be a finished product here year 2? No, he's going to continue to get better year in and year out, and it's a process. And so we're very clear on that. You know, there is a little bit of grace here as we go through it. We know he's learning. He's going to take his bumps, but at the same time, as long as we're not making the same mistake twice, we're going to be right on track and we'll be just fine. So it's one of those things, coming to work every single day with a great attitude. His attitude's contagious to the people around him. So being positive, willing to learn, being coachable, those things go a long way for not just this season, but his long-term process.
And the lessons that Ben Johnson is teaching Caleb Williams this season are going to be some of the most important things that we see for the entirety of the year. It just is, right? And for the future of the Chicago Bears as well. How Ben Johnson gets and connects with Caleb and gets Caleb to buy into what he needs Caleb to do, to grow in the areas that he's already said he needs Caleb to grow from if he's going to be this amazing quarterback that he has the potential of being. And so, I love that Ben Johnson doesn't shy away from things. It's a lot different than what we had with our prior head coach and Matt Eberflus. It's a lot different in those areas because Ben Johnson is just a different type of guy. And you got to give him his props for that. Ben Johnson is different. And I mean that in the most positive ways possible. He is bringing something that we have not had here in Chicago since Lovey. And we had some moments of it, right? We've had moments of it, but hopefully the consistency is there from Ben Johnson, and the fact that he holds not only his players accountable, he holds himself accountable and to a standard. He holds his staff accountable and to a standard, and that then reverberates through the rest of the roster, and that's when you have a culture. And that's what Ben Johnson is trying to build here, and he understands that you have to do that first through Caleb. Part of the reason that Ben Johnson here is to develop Caleb, and is to see, do the Bears have that franchise quarterback in Caleb Williams that they wanted when they drafted him number 1 overall? You trust Ben Johnson to see what he can get out that guy. And so, here's the thing. I don't want if Caleb is going to be great, coach him hard. And Caleb is, for that matter, has talked about being coach hard and how much he welcomes that, how much he needs that. And that does show a level of understanding what it takes to be great. And that's what this really comes down to. The greats aren't great because people put kids' gloves on them. And those kid gloves have to be removed. That's why even through some of the criticism that some of you guys label and throw towards Caleb, listen, what's my thing that I always say? It comes with the job of being a quarterback at the NFL level. Some of it is a bit ridiculous, but at the same time, that's the scrutiny that comes with being a quarterback. And being a Bears quarterback comes with even more scrutiny because of where we've been as a franchise at that quarterback position, right? So that's what it takes. That's what it's going to go through, and we'll see what the future does hold for that. But this marriage between Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, and I guess you could throw Ryan Poles in there as well, as he got his contract extension, those 3 parts of that. Let's hope that it's the right mix, because if it's not the right mix, Caleb's talked about it. You don't want to see another thing where it's every 2 years, it's a different coach, quarterback combination. It just keeps going through that cycle. We are trying to break that cycle. Can Caleb and Ben Johnson be the ones to do it? That's the hope. But all right, let's move on from that. There's been a lot of hype around Colston Loveland, understandably so, and that's just going to happen when it comes all down to it, because Colston Loveland, where he was drafted at, the position that he was drafted at, people are going to look at it and say, did the Bears get it right when it comes to this one? This one comes from NFL.com that says this. The Bears selected Loveland 10th in this year's draft, so he's not any kind of sleeper. But he took a while to get up to speed this offseason because he was recovering from an injury. And for that reason, some might have wondered if it would take some time for him to work his way into the offense. I don't think it will. Loveland is the guy whose name comes up every time I ask somebody about Bears camp. He's quarterback friendly, he's big, he's fast, he's polished in his route running. He was healthy to start training camp, so he advanced quickly once August got going, and his connection with quarterback Caleb Williams is said to be outstanding. The Bears have a lot of very good pass catchers. DJ Moore, Reuben Odunze, Cole Kmet, Luther Burden. But as Williams continues to develop under new coach Ben Johnson, he could lean on Loveland a lot, especially early. And we've talked about the 12-man personnel. That is going to be what we lean on a lot in moments. You're going to see a lot of 12-man personnel throughout the season. And I think that and the familiarity that's there and the comfort that's going to be there and what and how many different looks you can throw out of that 12-man personnel, that's what we're going to hope to see helps develop and push Caleb along to get to where we know he can get to and get to where we need him to get to. Now, is that going to happen? We'll see, right? I think that that Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet are going to offer Caleb Williams a nice, I call them safety valves, right? A nice bit of safety in certain situations when you're looking for a pass catcher. And then when you add in Colston Loveland and his ability with his route running, it's going to get extremely interesting to see. Luther Burden as well, really good route runner. This is going to be a season where if the offensive line does the job that they brought this offensive line in to do, you're going to see a lot of growth from Caleb in those areas. Attacking the middle of the field, going down the field, accuracy. Those are places that we need to see Caleb Williams grow, and Colston Loveland is going to be a big part of that. Now, I know there have been a segment of Bears fans that have taken the drafting of Colston Loveland and has already automatically gone into, well, now we need to trade Cole Kmet to get XYZ. It's probably not going to happen and may not happen anytime soon. Not to say that they may not ever trade Cole Kmet while he's on his current contract. It really depends on how some things shake out. I'm never going to say never, but I think right now they're going to use that 12-man personnel, and they're going to use that to a high degree to make sure that they have that. Like, every team has their formation that they go to that is the safest and the most familiar and what they can be the most and get the most productivity out of. That 12-man personnel is shaping up to be that for the Chicago Bears this upcoming season. And Ben Johnson is doing that by design. And that's part of the reason we went out and got a guy like Colston Loveland with having a Cole Kmet on the team, is because of Ben Johnson and how he views that 12-man personnel and how he likes to use that 12-man personnel. So it's going to be exciting to watch. It's going to be a lot to see and a lot to take in. And hopefully Caleb takes to this well, and we see the growth and development that we all want to see from Caleb Williams, and we want to see the benefit from this 12-man personnel. I think it's going to be there. We shall see. But you guys can let me know, as always, how you feel down below. Make sure you guys are following us at Chi Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.